and welcome. My name's Jessica Rose. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a crystal cluster hair comb. So let's get started with some making. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a cluster hair comb, which is like a bridal cluster hair comb, like this one that we've made before. So it's got some lovely freshwater pearls and it has some little Swarovski crystals, which are AB 2.5 mil, but you can create this design with all sorts of beads, anything you like really, but it's good to have a mixture of large ones and smaller ones. And I've also got some little pearls in there as well. And this is on a gold plated comb, but I'm going to make my one now on a silver plated comb, which you can purchase from Amazon, Etsy, and lots of jewellery suppliers as well if you just Google silver plated hair combs. So I've got a selection of beads, a cluster that I'm going to work with over here. So I'm going to use a blue theme, so I've got some lovely freshwater pearls, and I also have thrown in a few Swarovski beads. So I've got these 4mm blue bicone beads, and I've also got some small little pearl beads that's sort of 2.5mm and some 2.5mm Swarovskis too. So again, you don't have to use the same beads as me at all, but just find a nice selection that when you cluster them together gives you a kind of look that you like, because that's what we're going to be doing for the piece today. And I'm using 0.4mm silver plated wire. So I've got a spool of this, and I'm going to take a long section, kind of as long as I feel like I can manage, maybe like 1 meter to 1.5 meters. You don't want it so long that you just feel overwhelmed by it, but we're going to use quite a lot of wire. So I'm actually going to go for 1 meter. I feel like 1.5 meters will be too much to start with. And using my side cutters, which are my cutting pliers, I'm just going to push down and cut that off. Now the first thing I want to do is attach my wire to my hair comb. So I'm going to do that at one side, and I'm just going to thread it through the first tooth on the hair comb, have a little tail at the end to hold on to, and I'm just going to wrap. So using my fingers, just wrap up and over, maybe 3 or 4 times just to secure it in place. And because I don't need this tail anymore, just using it to hold on to, I'm just going to bring it down, snip it off with my cutting pliers, and just hold that so it doesn't ping across the room. And then using my chain nose pliers, which are pointed on the outside and flat on the inside, they're sometimes called snipe nose, I'm just going to push that down just to tuck that end in and make sure it's not sharp. So I'm just going to feel it with my finger, and when it feels nice and smooth, I'm good to go. So now I'm ready to start with my beads. So at the edge, I like to start with some smaller beads to start with. So I'm going to start with a crystal, and I'm just going to add one at a time to begin with. We will get on to adding more at a time, but for now I'm just going to add one. So I thread that crystal all the way down. So I thread that crystal all the way down, and then I'm just going to place it towards the outside. This is my first bead. I choose where I want it to go and make sure I hold it in place. So you see when I go to wrap the wire, it kind of wants to follow me around. Don't allow it to do that. Hold it in place with one finger and wrap with the other. So a couple of times, just a couple of wraps there. And I'm going to add another bead. I'm going to go slightly bigger this time. Go for one of the bicone beads and pop it where I want it. Hold it there and wrap. So with these combs, these cluster combs, they are very organic. So you can't really plan them in the way that you might a tiara or something like that. You're kind of just going with the flow. So I'm going to move on to a pearl next. I'm going to thread on this lovely freshwater pearl, because I kind of want these to be at the base of my design, and then I'll add some smaller beads on top of it after. So just again, choose the way you want it, the direction you want it. I don't want it going up, I want it to go along. So I'm just going to hold it along, pull the wire nice and tight, and then wrap it over and under to hold it in place. I always do at least 2 wraps in between. I'll do 2 or 3. And I'm aiming to just get it nice and secure. Okay, and that one is on nicely. I'm going to add another one. I'm going to go for a slightly different colour. Still a blue pearl, but it's looks a little bit lighter. And again, the key is really in placing it and holding it. So I'm placing it where I want it, I'm holding it. And then I'm going to go ahead and wrap. So a couple of wraps there. And I want it to be quite nice and tight, these wraps. I don't want it to be all jangling around at this stage. If it is, probably means it's not tight enough. You might want to go back and start again. It's very easy with wire wrapping to start again. You just cut the wires off and give it another go. And you'll have learnt something in the process. Well, I always tell myself that, at least. Put my third one on, so I'm just going all the way across with these larger beads at the bottom. Hold it in place and wrap round. Now, because we're working with quite thin wire, it is possible that it will snap. Hopefully not, but if you do snap it, don't worry. Just cut off the end, squash it in, and add another piece on again. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So I'm going to go for a slightly different colour in the middle, just to mix it up. Sort of light pinky one. Place it on and wrap. And we are pros at this by now. And keep going along all the way till I get to the other side, and then I'll do some little beads on the other side. And I'll go back and do some more beads as well on top to fill in any gaps, and just to add a bit more sparkle as well. These cluster pieces do use a lot of beads, but they look really stunning. They give a really lovely look. So next one, and in the tiara making course there's a set of notes. So you can download those notes from the Jewellers Academy website, and that has a list of all the suppliers in that we use as well. So just in case you want to find some suppliers, but you can get freshwater pearls from all different places. There's lots of places out there. Just wondering, I don't think that one's going to fit on actually, coming to the end, so I'm going to not go with that one. Instead I'm going to kind of mirror what I did the other side. So I'm going to do a bicone blue, and then a little see-through one as well, clear one. So pop it on, hold it in place. With the smaller ones, you've got to be a little bit more careful to hold them in place, because they do want to follow you around sometimes. And if you're making one of these, I would love to come and see your progress. Please do share them on social media. You can find us at Jewellers Academy. We'd love to see what you're making. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. All right, so now I've done one row across, and actually this is quite a nice design. I could leave it like this. This is one option, but we're going to go for the bling. So if we look at the original one, there's a lot more going on, and so we're going to start adding those sorts of layers. So I'm going to stick with the big beads a little bit longer, but I will introduce some of these smaller pearls as well. Especially at the sides, I tend to follow a general pattern of larger beads in the middle, bigger ones smaller ones at the side. So I'm just going to place this one on and wrap down. And don't worry about your wire showing. With this technique, your wire does show. That's kind of part of it, so please don't worry about that. Let me pop another one on. And now I'm coming to the end of my wire now. So what I want to do is just finish off this piece of wire. So just wrap it around a few times so it's nice and secure. Then at the back, I'm just going to cut the end off there and tuck it in with my chain nose pliers, those pointed ones, and run my finger over to make sure it's not going to come off. And sometimes I might tuck it under something if I need to. That one feels fine, but if it's a bit that feels kind of precarious, I might tuck it under at the back. So now I want to add on another piece. So again, I'd say 50 centimeters to a meter. You want to be working with at a time. If a meter feels too much, go with 50 centimeters. And I want to start from where I left off. So I'm just going to leave a little tail, thread it through, leave a little tail, and wrap over a couple of times. I don't worry about if I'm wrapping on top of my pearls. That's all part of the design here anyway. Pull it nice and tight to make sure it's on. And same at the back. I'm going to cut off this little tail and tuck it in. So the tuck is a little bit more challenging sometimes with these, but you just need to kind of get in there and go for it. You can do it. And don't forget that your fingers are great tools as well. Now that I've attached my new piece of wire on, I'm going to carry on my wrapping. So I'm going to move on to some bigger beads. So I want to get all of those in place first. So just choosing where I want it to go, but also listening a little bit to the bead where it fits. I feel like that fits quite nicely there. So wrap it in place. They all have slightly different shapes, and as I mentioned, the design is very organic, so don't be afraid to listen to your beads. Sounds kind of funny, but they do sometimes have a place they want to be. And with these cluster ones, it's kind of makes sense. So always a couple of strong wraps in between. And I'm thinking as well about, okay, I want bigger in the middle. I'm generally building up the middle more, slightly more gentle at the sides. And don't worry if it doesn't all look exactly how you want it to at this stage, because remember, we're going to embellish it, we're going to fill gaps with all our little beads as well. So there will be natural spaces that come up, and that's fine. I'm going to put some smaller ones in towards the edge. And at this stage I might start adding a couple more. So you can see I've got this one in, but I actually could thread a couple more little ones on there. So I'm going to put a few little crystals on that same wrap. And this will really depend on the beads that you have and the design that you want, that you play around with it. So hold those in place and give it a good wrap. And I'm going to do a row with some little pearls. So now I feel like I've got the basic structure of my piece. I've got a lot of the big beads on that I probably want to have on, and I'm ready to start filling in some of the gaps. So I can start putting more than one on at a time. I'm having a bit of trouble getting them on, so I'm just going to cut the end off because it's got a bit raggedy, and it should be easier. So I'm going to put 3 on this one. Choose where I want it to go. And don't worry if I'm covering some bits from before as well. That's all kind of part of the design. You can't see every bit of every bead. And now I'm going to go back across, adding all these smaller beads in. And I'm going to use a mixture of crystals, little pearls. I'm just going to really mix it up. So if I'm doing a longer one, I'll generally start with a small one, then I might go a bit bigger, and then I might go a bit smaller again. So I've got 4 on this one. And I want to make sure that the beads are at the front of the piece, not all at the back. So I put them in place and then I wrap. And I'll add in lots of crystals because that's what gives me that real sparkle effect. These AB crystals that kind of iridescent, really nice for this kind of bridal jewellery. So there's not much more to it. We just keep going, we keep building, and you'll start to see the more of these you do, you start to get a kind of flair for what you enjoy. I'm going to do one row now with just like 5 crystals all on its own, so just a row of bling in the middle, or as we come towards the middle. So pop that over and you can see just adds that real nice sparkle, but I've still got those lovely pearls, the kind of natural look. So what I'm going to do now is just I keep going backwards and forwards and I add on whatever I want to add on. So I've got my base, I've done the kind of trickier parts. I'm going to add on some little pearls, some little crystals, and a few more of these sort of lighter ones as well. So I'll do that and then I'll come back and we'll finish it off together. So I've added a few more clusters to my piece. I've gone through and just added some pearls and some more crystals and gone backwards and forwards a bit, and I'm going to add just a final row. You do find as you get towards the end there's more on your wire because it's got to reach across everything, so that's where the small beads really come in handy. So I'm just going to place that down and do my final wraps. Pull it nice and tight, and then at the back again just the same. Been cutting them down, squashing them. It is harder to squash them because you kind of have to go all the way across and you want to be really gentle with the pearls, but what you can do sometimes is tuck them into another one just to hold it in place. It doesn't always work, kind of just depends on the design and the wire. As long as I can run my finger across, it's nice and smooth and it's not going to come away, it's secure, then I'm happy. So that brings us to the end of our cluster comb bridal jewellery project. I hope you have enjoyed it. It's a really lovely project to make. You can do all different designs and you don't need a lot of tools and equipment. It's very easy to do from home. You just have your set of pliers, some beads, crystals, pearls, and those hair combs. And yeah, I would love you to share your progress and your makes with me at Jewellers Academy on Instagram or on the Jewellers Academy Facebook group. You can join us. And if you would like to learn more about making bridal jewellery, we have a full tiaras course, which you are welcome to join as well if you follow the link. It will be on our website, so you can learn how to make all different types of tiara and wedding jewellery. And if you're interested in jewellery making in general, do visit jewellersacademy.com. We have tons of free resources for jewellers, downloads, PDFs, and a whole membership site for you to get involved in as well. So until next time, thank you for joining me and happy making. If you enjoyed this video, do give it a like and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you would like to find out more about our free online courses and join our community, visit us at jewellersacademy.com.